See me,
Yep.
hear me? Hear me, see
Yep.
me? Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I apologize for the crazy technical difficulties, but we are here, and that's all that really matters. So, for anyone that was live with me during my session at 9, I just said, today is going to be a really special day full of beautiful and wonderful heartists, is what we're calling them. Calling our beautiful speakers and amazing, hang on, there we go, amazing artists and authors. So first up, we have the one and only Diane Cole, and we're going to be just chatting today. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit about her book, her forthcoming book called Heartbundance, and she's going to share a little bit about the why behind writing it. And then she's going to share some of the information that's in that book because it's a really powerful book. So, why don't I let you introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you're going to share with us today?
Sure. Thank you. So the book is coming out next month, and this is a book that, I never intended to become an author. A lot of people think that they're going to write a book, at some point. I'm not one of those people. But the pathway for me was that I have helped a lot of survivors of toxic relationships, of love trauma, of highly critical or unhealthy parents. And then along the way, I just had a book that I felt was on my heart that I wanted to bring forth. And I met Sabrina, and I'm really glad to partner with her to actually bring this book into fruition next month.
I can't believe it's already next month. Doesn't that just feel crazy?
It does. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind, because I feel like the book kind of came together pretty quickly. Um, but for the past, I would say heavily in the past decade, I've really been working with a lot of survivors about this. And what I noticed in my practice was that healing from toxic relationships was very different from the process of stepping into abundance after being a survivor of a toxic relationship. And there's really not a lot out there about what that difference is. Right now, a lot of psychology and a lot of practices are just focusing on healing from the trauma, but not breaking through into that abundance psychology and abundance mindset where you can leap over the beliefs and the programming that were created through those manipulative or toxic dynamics in the relationships. And that's really what I was called to write about. And that's what the book is essentially about.
Would you share with everyone a little bit about your background? Like, why are you the one to write this book? Explain a little bit about your story.
Sure. Like most therapists, I had my own journey, and that's how most of us have got to this place. For me, when I was younger, and talk about really young, so when I was just going into college and into grad school, I had two very emotionally abusive relationships myself, back to back at that time of my life. But it was also a time when I was studying psychology and studying counseling, and it just became a passion for me to help people with what I went through. So, but after that, instead of just focusing on toxic relationships, I'm a trauma therapist in general. So I focus on all types of trauma therapy, whether it's single incident or what we call developmental trauma. Um, and so it really is something that combining all those things, my personal experience after surviving an abusive relationship and thriving after abusive relationship, also being a trauma specialist. This book is specifically coming out from me.
I often hear people say that authors write the book they wish they had when they were going through the thing. Would you say that that is true of your experience of
That
writing this?
couldn't be truer for me.
Yeah.
So when I was in my recovery journey from an emotionally abusive relationship, um, no one talked about narcissism, which sounds crazy today because today it's like something that it's a buzzword, like everyone is a narcissist that pisses you off these days. And that's actually not the case, but it's so talked about that it's hard to remember when we did not talk about these things. But if you go back over 20 years ago, the phrase narcissistic relationship just did not exist in everyday conversation, not even amongst therapists, you know? So, um, one thing that I am not shy about sharing is when I finally ended my emotionally abusive relationship in my young 20s. So, if you can imagine, I was like 22 years old. I was really still a kid. And my therapist just coldly looked at me and goes, I never thought you'd leave. That's all she said. And I was kind of none the wiser because I was new in the field myself. I just thought, well, maybe this is just how therapy is, that they're not really warm and fuzzy, you know? But I did have to figure it all out myself. And just to remind everyone about what life was like a couple of decades ago, meditation was not yet mainstream, you know, like, so I discovered mindfulness, I discovered meditation, I was integrating all of these things. I was figuring out how to do what I now call thought hygiene, how to actually change my thought patterns for good. And I really had to do all of this on my own because there wasn't a body of work that really existed for all of that yet, you know. And again, I realize how strange what I'm saying is because, I mean, who doesn't do yoga and meditate these days, you know? But I remember when I was mentioning it, even in my grad classes at the time, that I was meditating, and I got actually a lot of heat for that. People found that really woo-woo and odd behavior for somebody to meditate. So I had to explain to them at the time what that actually meant and why it was good for the brain. But today it's just like, a known thing, like going to the gym, you know?
It's so true. So one thing you mentioned a while ago that stood out in my mind is manifestation beyond, just sort of what we've heard, like mainstream manifestation. So can you tell a little bit without giving away too much? Because I know you have the book coming out and I want everyone to go and get their copy of Heartbundance, but tell us just a little bit about sort of the framework that you use and like how that is applicable to everyday life.
Yeah, yeah, I'd be happy to. This is a topic that's super important to me because manifestation, you know, speaking of buzzwords, this is another buzzword now, and rightly so. Like manifestation and the focus on manifestation is probably one of the most beautiful things about the personal development industry these days. Because really empowering each other to live our best lives and to do what we're called to do here in our lifetime, it's better for everyone. It's good for all of humanity. That said, the psychology of trauma recovery with mainstream manifestation is not lining up. And so, what I'm seeing is that people with a history of trauma, and certainly people that have active trauma programming within them, right? They are coming to a standstill with traditional, or what we would say like mainstream manifestation methods, where in mainstream manifestation, they would say things like, just believe it's going to happen. If you can't believe it's going to happen, you're blocking it from happening. They would say things like, just do the things in alignment with what you want in order to manifest. And there's, I mean, an infinite amount. So for the sake of not getting on a soapbox all day long, which I totally could on this topic, I'll just leave it there as those two examples. Simply believing and simply doing the things in service of that thing you're trying to manifest is not always easy for trauma survivors. In fact, they might completely be blocked from that. So let's say when it comes to a controlling, manipulative, or emotionally abusive relationship. A lot of my clients had partners who were purposefully trying to undermine their belief in themselves. And this went on for years. And these people often are very highly manipulative and skilled in that way. Over time, if the brain hears something over and over and over again, that they're not worthy, that no one will take them seriously, that they're not going to be able to create X, Y, and Z in their lives, even if they don't believe it in the beginning, if they hear it enough from an abusive partner, the brain does start to experience that as the truth. And then on another layer is that your neurological programming and your deep subconscious beliefs that are wired into the way your brain now operates will reflect that. So this is why it's really problematic for trauma survivors. I really want to see people, like people everywhere, understand that it's okay if you can't believe yet. You can work on the belief in a way that we know works. That you can actually change the neuroplasticity of your brain and how your brain operates to open up the ability to believe again. And then you can do those mainstream manifestation techniques. So instead, what I'm seeing is this bridge is not really made yet, you know? And so people are maybe have active trauma programming within them, jumping to the mainstream manifestation, and it's not working, and it's making them feel like they just can't do it. And that's what breaks my heart because you can do it. You just need to do it a little bit in a different way.
Yeah, because you hear in the mainstream manifestation world, like just think positively, just always be happy, just and then you'll radiate happiness. And how do you feel about that? Because I've heard it called things like toxic positivity, and I've heard all kinds of mixed reviews, we'll say, around mainstream manifestation. So what are your thoughts on that as a trauma informed, therapist who understands neuroplasticity and brain science?
I think that, see, I don't want to throw shade at it because there are people who can jump to that, it's not that anyone asked for trauma privilege. And what I mean by that is someone that doesn't have a trauma history, that doesn't have that internal programming or brain chemistry that they'll have to help themselves with first before doing those things. So there are people in the world that they don't have a trauma history. Perhaps there's some privilege there that they don't have to work out some deeply held beliefs that are creating residue to just believing and just thinking positively. So what I would say is like, you know, for the rest of us, there is some spiritual bypassing that's happening there where it's too much of a leap to just jump to that, but that shouldn't discourage anyone. And that's really what I hope that the takeaway is from the book is don't be discouraged thinking that you are somehow blocked or you can't create these amazing manifestations in your life. You absolutely aren't blocked. We're just going to do it in this trauma informed way where we're helping you to really address the residue that's blocking away to thinking positively and having the belief. But in that way, it's not a forcing. You're actually transmuting yourself into a version of yourself that can believe and that is able to think more positively about themselves more easily, is able to see those big dreams that you have with more clarity as something that really is available to you and that you are worthy of having that. And once all of those foundational beliefs are situated in your brain, your soul, in your heart, even in your body, you are so primed for manifestation. And before I wrote the book, I made sure this was a true thing. So I have tested this over and over and over and over again. The most recent wild example, and she would be, happy for me to share as long as I protect her identity. I was working with someone who is an executive, and she was really working on her programming from manipulation and mind control tactics from a past relationship. And she had this vision of herself in a specific suit on business in Italy, right? And so we were doing all of the things that I outlined in this book to help her to purge those beliefs, to help her to, get in touch with her inner mastery, to help her joyfully become the new version of herself, to be able to see herself as someone that's worthy of these things. And she actually had that moment in the airport in Italy in the same suit that as she saw herself going to a business meeting. And we were like, oh my God, we did it. We did like the exact manifestation. So for me, that specific manifestation meant so much, Um, and I loved that for her.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing all of that with us today. Would you be open to reading an excerpt from your book?
Sure. I would have to get it. I'd have to get it at the ready. Happy to do that.
I think I would love to share with everyone just a little piece of the book. And if you don't have an excerpt ready, that's totally fine as well. You can just share sort of your Cole's Notes version of anything you want to share from the book. Why should people pick up the book? Why, I know you shared why you wrote it and a bit about your story, but why should somebody else pick up this book?
Hmm. Okay, let's see. I think that the part of the book that talks about what heartbundance is
Yes.
really helpful.
And just so everyone knows, Diane's at the stage in her publishing journey right now where she doesn't actually have the physical book in her hands yet. It's coming this week. So she'll
Yeah.
have it by the end of the week. And then where are you headed? You're off on a big trip too, right?
Yes, I'm going to Greece next week. Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm so excited I'm packed a week early, which I've never done in my entire adult life. Yeah.
It's just incredible.
See.
So we have it set up so she's going to get a copy of her proof book to read while she's away on her adventure.
Okay, so this excerpt, actually, let's talk about the understanding love trauma. I think this would be really helpful.
Perfect.
And I'll just read, what do you think, like a couple pages in here?
Yeah, even just a page or two. Nothing too crazy.
Okay. So this is about understanding love trauma. Before we can start the process of heartbundance, we need to talk about what trauma itself actually is. Essentially, the process of heartbundance is a process that takes you from active trauma that hinders your day-to-day well-being to shedding that and stepping into your inner authority and highest timeline. So let's get clear about what trauma actually is and what its impact is on you today, your starting point. The most accepted and research-backed definition of trauma is that it's not the event itself, but the lasting impact it has on the individual. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services admin, trauma results from an event, series of events, or sets of circumstance that is experienced by an individual as physically or emotionally harmful or life-threatening, and that has lasting adverse effects on the individual's functioning and mental, physical, social, emotional, or spiritual well-being. The operative word here is experienced. Trauma isn't just what happened, it's about what happened inside of you as a result. It's the perception of overwhelming threat combined with a sense of helplessness, powerlessness, or inability to escape. That's what creates a traumatic imprint in the nervous system. To understand why this happens, we have to remember something vital. The brain you have today is a brain that was designed to help you survive. Not only was it designed to help you survive, but it's designed to survive the conditions and threats that faced our ancestors thousands of years ago. Those wild, unpredictable conditions needed a finely tuned internal alert system to help them survive the realities of that time. And so evolution prioritized safety, not happiness. All of this means that our neurological wiring, particularly our trauma responses, developed to keep us alive in the face of danger. Our brains are exquisitely sensitive to perceived threats, whether or not they're actually life-threatening in the modern world. So the reason why this is so important is because we in the modern ages are now having active trauma because of our relationships. And this is not just, I would say, classically abusive relationships where we can all say, oh, yes, there's trauma programming there. but also the real quietly, maybe um, underhandedly manipulative relationships as well, where you might not be able to see it as directly, or it might be really hidden, and someone in the relationship might not see it as clearly, but that nervous system is going to activate when you're feeling like you can't be your full self, when you feel like you're incapable of doing what you need to do for yourself in service of this relationship. And what happens in our trauma programming, because it's a survival mechanism within us, is that those beliefs get hardwired into our brain. And then the hardwired beliefs is what blocks the manifestations. And so
Crazy.
it's really interesting, and I wish I could say, oh, I'm the only one that's talking about this, and obviously not. There's a lot of us right now that are looking at this neurological perspective, um, interpersonal dynamics, and really looking at how you can help to free people from this whole big dynamic. It's really in the zeitgeist right now to help people to do this. But what I would say in this book, it's really a step by step. Like, first, it talks about this is what happened in the brain and in your heart, in your body. And the second part of the book is exactly what you can do to help yourself to heal from what happened. Then the third part of it is completely dedicated to trauma informed manifestation techniques to help people leap out of this dynamic for themselves.
So incredibly interesting and cool. And I'm so happy you wrote this book. I remember when you first came to me and said you had a book about manifestation, but you weren't sure where it was going to go. And here we are,
Yeah.
October 28th. Is that your
Yeah.
release date? October
Which is
28th.
also my wedding anniversary, so that's fun.
I love it. Well, since there are some people here live with us, I'm going to open it for questions because that is the benefit of showing up live. We're going to have this, although we're not live streaming right now because of technical difficulties. It will be posted in the Facebook group. It'll be posted in the Kajabi. Everyone will get access to the replay as well. But if you're here with us live, and you've taken the time and your presence and energy is with us, I would love to open up the floor to ask Diane a question if anybody has a question. And then Diane, if you have anything you want to share with the community about your book, about upcoming offers you have, about how they can, be in touch with you or follow along, then we will do that after as well. So
Okay. Yeah.
does anybody have a question for Diane? Just wanted to say congrats.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
What are signs that you feel relationships are blocking your manifestations? And
So
congratulations.
that's an excellent question. And it's funny that that question is asked, because I would say that specific question was my biggest challenge in writing this book, because every relationship and the dynamics within them, and then the personalities of the people in the relationship, create such wildly different circumstances. So it is on an individual basis. But the signs that I would look for are definitely someone who is using power and control dynamics over their partner. So that is, like, red flag number one. But other things that happen that can be more subtle, and this is addressed in the book, is when someone feels that they have to overfunction in a relationship. So nothing in that relationship might seem overtly harmful, but that person's need to diminish what they do for themselves and overfunction for the sake of the relationship, then can also create dynamics that could block manifestation. And the reason for that is because that overfunctioner is, there's programming there of, my needs don't matter as much. What I want isn't as important as what my partner wants or what my children need from me. So all of those beliefs then create the residue that could get in the way of their own manifestations. So those are just a couple versions of it. In the book, I outlined a lot of different types of relationship dynamics and love moons. so that when someone is reading the book, they can see, oh, there was some of this for me, there was some of that for me. And instead of needing to fit into one of these specific love wounds or one of these types of relationship dynamics, I want people just to look at and say, it can be a little of this and it can be a little of that. A lot of it is looking at a mirror of the information that's presented to get clarity for oneself instead of looking for the exact answer. And again, it really speaks to how unique all of these things are, you know. I hope I answered your question thoroughly because that's another thing I could go on for hours about.
So this is so true because ever since I left a horrible relationship and focused on my nervous system, that's when the manifestation started rolling in. I can't wait to read your book. I feel this deeply.
Oh, yes, thank you for that. First of all, I'm super glad for you, that you're able to see that already, that really helping to ground and soothe your nervous system. Um, it really does something for us. So other things in the book would be about how to actually change your beliefs, like how to actually change your thoughts. So I outline processes I use with clients, tried and true things that really do work to help people with this. But I'm glad for you, and I would love to hear what you think about it after you read it.
Incredible. Well, thank you everyone for being here with us live and wiggling through the technical difficulties. I promise by the next session we'll have everything figured out. And Diane, you're a trooper. Thank you for, I know it's very early in the morning and you were our kickoff other than myself. So a bit of a guinea pig, but
Thank
you're
you.
such a
I'm
trooper.
happy to
And
be here early. I'm an early bird myself, so
it's
it's
perfect.
good for
It's
me.
perfect. Well, and thank you for everyone who is here with us live, whether we can see you or not, or if you have a question or not. It's all good. It's all there. It's all energy. And we're so grateful. Diane, is there anything else you want to share? And then I'll share a little bit about your upcoming book release, and then we can throw this replay up for everyone to watch, since I'm sure some people are hoping that your face is going to show up on the Facebook live stream right now and it's not there. So we're going to post this right away.
Um, Great. Well, I do coaching. I do executive coaching with survivors of love trauma who are really trying to break through that next level of manifestation and create an amazing next chapter. To get in touch with me, I'm on Instagram at the Diane Cole. I'm on Facebook just by my name, Diane Cole, and TikTok at the Diane Cole too. And the best way to get in touch with me if you're interested in working together is just send me a message on any one of those platforms. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm grateful. Thank you, Sabrina, for everything that you've done to help me with this. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And the world absolutely needs this book. And I'm so grateful and honored to be any part of it at all. So October 28th is Diane's Amazon release date. So you'll learn a little bit about more of what that means today through meeting all of our authors that are being published this fall. But October 28th is when her book will be available on Amazon. We will do a rally and campaign for bestseller status on Amazon. That's when we will request that you purchase your copy of her book from Amazon. And it'll just be such an exciting day, so much energy. We're going to keep this group, this Facebook group, open so that everyone that wants to participate in that can have a smaller container that's not so loud like the whole internet. And you can directly support Diane on that day. So we're super excited for it to come. There's a lot of exciting things coming in the next just week or two, other than her going away to Greece, which is also very exciting. But the cover reveal, we will be releasing some of our advanced readers who are sharing their feedback on her book and lots of other exciting things. So stay tuned, keep in touch with Diane, reach out if you would like to work with her, and just keep your eyes out for Heartbundance, which will be launching October 28th. Diane, thank you for being here. Thank you for writing this book. Thank you for your presence. And I'm just so excited for all that's to come.
Me too. Thank you.